Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another week of Palmetto Playbook. I'm your co-host, Alan Marcus Harder, the 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. producer here at WMBF News in Myrtle Beach.
I'm TJ Turner. I'm the weekend sports anchor here at WMBF, and we're going to kick things off with some high school football. Now, we preemptively gave you guys a look ahead to Extra Point last week, which is our Friday night high school football show.
And under normal circumstances, we would have that, but there was a presidential
we had a visitor.
Yeah, that kind of shook things up at the station, changed some plans around.
Yeah, Donald Trump coming into town and some crazy weather got the sports people were placed on different tasks that day.
Yeah, you got the best deal of the day, just going around chasing storms.
Yeah, me and meteorologist Bryce Glenn were chasing some storms. But I'm gonna make sure you guys get your high school football fix from last week and get updated. My top three, my number 3 spot, Marlboro County High School, putting up 60 points against Myrtle Beach. They only allowed 20, and I know after that, the Conway National Bank Kickoff Classic, got to get all the words in there. Did I get them all correct this time?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Yes. But after the Kickoff Classic, I thought Myrtle Beach's offense was going to be, I thought they were going to be the ones putting up 60 points a game this year. Their offense just looked electric, and Marlboro County coming in, I believe, as a 2A team. I know they're in one of the lower divisions.
Give me a second, I might be able to get that answer for you.
I think they're 2A, and I know Myrtle Beach is.
They're 4A. They moved down.
Yeah, they're 4A, but a much smaller school going against a much bigger school, especially you've got Myrtle Beach, who's been a great program for years, and going against Marlboro County program, who I think was good in the past, and in the past few years they've kind of struggled. And wasn't it 2 years ago?
I need to correct myself from last week because I need to give a lot more credit. I need to. What was the say? Put some respect on Marlboro County's name. Last week I said they were down in the dumps. Like you were about to just mention, 2 seasons ago they didn't even have a single win. They were 0-10. Last year they were 8-4, and clearly they're off to a great start. They are in 2A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're supposed to be one of the better 2A teams in the state this year, and I mean, after week 1, I definitely can't count them out.
They definitely turned some heads, I think, in that way. We'll break down the full, I guess like weekend slate. I don't even know what you call it.
Yeah, like some
Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday games, and Monday games. But we'll get into that in just a second. But I'm glad you shouted them because I definitely needed to correct myself on that as well and put some respect on Marlboro County. For my number 3 spot, I'm going with the story that we've been kind of following throughout this entire baseball season. Coastal Carolina alumni Caden Bodine getting the promotion to now AAA. The Durham Bulls in the within the Tampa Bay Rays organization. I think it was over the weekend they got word that he's getting promoted. It's his, I think, 3rd or 4th promotion just this season. Like, he started in the low A division with the Rays and like the Charleston River Dogs. He was drafted as the 30th overall pick in the 2025 draft by the Baltimore Orioles. He was traded, I think, in December to the Rays, and just the fact that he's climbing all the way up to AAA. I think I have his stats pulled up so far in the division. He's still batting with a 3.44 batting average, of 4.13 on base percentage, has 14 home runs, 45 walks, and only 28 strikeouts in 102 games between the low A Charleston River Dogs, the high A team, the Bowling Green. I'm not sure what their mascot is, and the Montgomery Biscuits. Just great meteoric rise for him, and it's great that he's doing that within the Tampa Bay Rays organization, an organization that has been near the top of professional baseball the past several. Well, at least this season, I think they're like 3rd right now in the overall ranking. So it's just good to see, and hopefully he can maybe even make it further this. I don't know. It might be tough for him to get on the MLB roster this season, but it's just, you love to see that from him.
Yeah, definitely a good time to be getting your foot in the door in the Rays organization. They've been kind of on the rise as well as he has been.
Yeah.
And then my number 2, I've got Wyndham Clark winning the BMW championship, and it was kind of a scary Sunday for him. He had his worst round of the week, And the rest of the field, you had like Chris Gotterup. I think Rory at one point passed him. And the whole field was just like catching up to him all day. He was not playing his best. I mean, I think he shot like a 64. Like, as you can see here, you have Chris Gotterup, who has previously won the Myrtle Beach Classic. You have Morikawa, Woodland, Rory. They were all within a couple strokes, and then you could see he jumped up to 16 under, and he ended up finishing at 17 under. So it was definitely a scary day, but he kind of pulled away at the end. He ended off with a birdie to give himself a 70 on the final round. So definitely good to see. I mean, I can't imagine going into a Sunday and just watching the rest of the field just slowly catch up to you, and then just being able to pull it out in the end and kind of pull through in those final few
Isn't
holes.
this the guy that's like notoriously very hard on himself when
Yes.
things don't?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, he's having a good. I think this is like his third or fourth win on the tour so
He's had a
far
great
this
year.
season. So yeah, great season for him. Which I mean, I think they are kind of coming to the close. They're in that. Was that a part of the playoffs?
I think it was either the first round or the last one before it starts.
Okay.
I know we're right there.
I gotcha. So for my number two pick, I'm going with a feel good story out of Conway. The Coastal Carolina volleyball team signing 14-year-old Claire Duncan as its newest team member through the Team Impact. They had a special signing ceremony on Monday. Duncan is the first Team Impact match in Coastal Carolina University history. Special moment for not only Claire Duncan but the team in general. For some background, the Team Impact is a national non-profit organization. It kind of gives children facing serious illnesses and disabilities with the chance to be signed by a college team. And then Duncan, who is battling leukemia, will participate in numerous activities with the Chanticleers this season, including matches, practices, and other team events. So just a shout out to the Coastal Carolina volleyball team for making that happen for Claire and her family, especially during this tough time as a 14-year-old battling leukemia. I have no idea just the struggles that comes with that, and wish her all the best and hope it's a great season for her with the volleyball team. And I'm glad the volleyball team is doing that. And was they, I guess, matched up, and just I don't know how that partnership unfolded, but I'm glad it's happening.
I'm glad you put that in there because I was gonna throw that in and I couldn't find a spot for it. I'm glad you put it in there so we could mention it because that was great to see.
Yeah.
I know I saw it and I didn't even know what Team Impact was until then.
I think it was my first time hearing about it. Yeah,
I had seen programs like that with college programs in the past, but I started reading about it and it's definitely a cool to see, and it'll be interesting to see during the season what exactly she gets to do with the program.
Yeah.
And then my number one, I've just got an over-encompassing the Little League World Series. I love the Little League World Series. It's one of the coolest events and one of the coolest youth events that baseball and just youth sports in the United States has in general. You get what, 12, 13, is it 13U?
I think so.
I think
maybe.
it's 13U. I know you have 12-year-old, 13-year-olds playing baseball, and they're some of the best athletes you've ever seen, and they get to play in the nationally televised tournament. They get to play in front of I love seeing all the MLB guys will come back. I know Ozzy Albies was one of them.
Yeah,
he came back and
his special connection is because he's from Curacao, and the Curacao, their team is playing in the Little League World Series. So yeah, I saw videos from him over the weekend when the Braves were.
You look
there.
like a fanboy.
Yeah, they're like a proud father, just shooting videos.
Just standing behind him as they're warming out in the
It
bullpen.
was fun to see that.
Yeah, moments like that are just great to see. So we'll give a shout out to the Little League World Series. And one of the coolest things they do is the Little League Classic. We'll get to that later when the Braves played in that. But just overall, the Little League World Series is my number one.
I'm going to throw an audible. I'll do an honorable mention first since you brought up the Little League Baseball World Series. I'll mention Kinsley Rasmus, the girl pitcher. She's a two-way player, pitcher and hitter for I think it's the Phoenix City, Alabama. The team's representing the Southeast in this Little League Baseball World Series. She's had a heck of a tournament so far. As of recording Tuesday morning, their team is still in it. They're playing an elimination game tonight, I believe, against the Tacoma, Washington. But she's already made history. She's tied with, we've mentioned Monet Davis several times on this podcast so far. Kinsley Rasmus. She's tied Monet Davis for the most strikeouts by a girl at the Little League Baseball World Series, I believe with 14. The first game she was in, she had, I believe, 8 strikeouts. And then last night's game on Monday, she came in relief and I think had 6 more strikeouts. So unbelievable performances from her, and just great performances from that Alabama team as well. They were trying to think of which team they were playing on Monday night. They were facing the Pennsylvania team. I'm not sure where they were from, but they were facing an elimination. They were down 5-0 in the third inning, and they brought her in for relief pitching. Because like the Little League Baseball World Series, they do this like you're on a pitch count, and if you exceed that pitch count, you can't pitch until so and so, and it's some rules around that. But they brought her in the third inning, and immediately the Alabama team came back and they won it, I believe, in the bottom of the 7th inning on a walk-off hit. It's just a crazy story for her. And then she's also done really well at the plate. She had an RBI triple, I believe, in their first game. She was very close to hitting a home run in the Monday night game, but the win brought it back in. But I'll shout her out, especially since we're talking about Little League Baseball World Series. Her dad. Her dad is. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember. There was the Rasmus brothers that played in the MLB between like early 2010s. I believe her dad is Colby Rasmus that played for the St. Louis Cardinals, and her. I can't remember her uncle's name, but another one of the brothers that made the MLB. So she comes from a family that's really good at baseball, and you love to see that for her. And then I guess I'll switch over to my number 1 pick if I can pull it up real quick. If you can see by what I'm wearing, I kind of throw in a little nod to it. The South Carolina women's soccer team getting the win over the team from the orange team from the upstate over on last Thursday, a 1-0 win over number 24 Clemson. It was a great performance, a very back and forth game. If in recent memory, this game has ended in a tie or draw or a tie, however you want to call it. The last 4 times these teams have met, they've ended in a draw. This was South Carolina's first win against Clemson since 2018, my senior year of college, so 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm glad that a great performance from the Gamecocks. They're kind of known for their playing great defense, and they were able to get a goal in the 84th minute by Color Zuloff. Back and forth, like I said, a back and forth game. Clemson, literally just a few seconds before the goal happened, they thought they had a challenge for a penalty in the South Carolina box that was ruled off. And then immediately the Gamecocks went down the field and scored a goal to get the win. Like I said, first win in the series since 2018. They said the Gamecocks fans set a new the record attendance at the game there at Stone Stadium in Columbia. I have fond memories of going to that stadium, aka the graveyard in college, to watch matches. Great performance there. I'd love to see the fan base, especially this early in the season. They had to wrap fans around the stadium, around the fence around. They brought out the graveyard shift, the supporter section. They're opposite of where the stands where the fans sit, but they're their own band. I think I believe they're from Sumter or something. They started my freshman year of college. They get really into it, but glad that they got the win over Clemson.
Yeah, and then getting into high school football from this past week, like you said, we had an interesting schedule for high school football. We had some, because of weather and everything going on, there was some Thursday night games, and then some, I guess, regularly scheduled Friday night games, and then some teams had to play on Saturday.
Some delayed Friday games, games that got into lightning delays and didn't end until 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't end up getting to cover them, but I think it would have been kind of a... We would have been definitely stretched thin trying to cover high school football this weekend. Yeah, we'll recap. Of course, we obviously don't have highlights because we had a lot of stuff going on Fridays for us on our end with President Trump's visit. But we'll start off
kind of work our way down based on classifications. You have Carolina Forest picking up the win over West Florence on the road, 16-14. Big win for the Panthers to start off on the right foot. North Myrtle Beach getting a 31-7 win over Socastee. Loris, I think, we mentioned Marlboro County as a team in your top three as putting on a great performance. I'll throw in Loris as well. I mentioned last week about how Loris they lost a lot of really good players from last year, but they showed no signs of slowing down. They picked up a 41-8 win over Conway. And then, of course, you had the Marlboro County 61-21 over Myrtle Beach. South Florence hitting the road and coming up short against Hilton Head 28-21. A game that happened last night for us, Monday night for you. St. James beating Waccamaw 22-21 in like double overtime. St. James going for a 2-point conversion. I can't remember their head coach's name off the top of my head, but it was his first win there in his first season, I believe, with St. James. St. James have kind of struggled in recent years, and Waccamaw has shown in recent years that they've played better than they have in the past. So a great win for St. James to pick up that win in an electrifying double overtime game. Hartsville getting the 28-14 win over Wilson. Aner beating Georgetown 20-8. Atlantic Collegiate winning 29 against Mullins 8. Just Darlington beating Lamar. Camden beating Dillon. Camden's always they're one of the best teams in their classification year in and year out. I'm trying to think. They might be in 2A or 2. Well, Dillon's I think in 2A now, but they're always really a really great team. So even if they lost, it's not something that can derail your season. Especially, I mean, we're in non-conference, going up against a tough team like that. But then Lake City beating Hammond and Pamplico. Andrews falling short to Lakewood. Carvers Bay, another really great team in single A. They've been really great year in and year out, picking up a 27-0 win over Latta, who used to be in their same division. MacB beating Hemingway, which I'm just glad to see Hemingway have a football team this year. I remember last year when we were trying to figure out where Hemingway was played at, we come to the realization that Hemingway's suspended their season because they didn't have enough players on their team. So I'm just glad that they have a team that could play. Johnsonville or Lakeview beating Johnsonville 30-28, and then Green Sea Floyds losing to East Columbus, North Carolina, and then Marion picking up a big win over Kingstree. And then we can mention some of the games that we're covering this week.
Yeah, we will have high school football coverage this week.
Barring another presidential visit or something like that.
Nobody surprise us and show up on Friday. We've got high school football to cover. But this week, our game of the week, I guess the one I'll be at is going to be Conway at Carolina Forest. I know Conway week 1 definitely did not go how they had planned it. Carolina Forest played a great game. I think Carolina Forest is looking like they're ready to have a great season. I know they lost a lot of pieces as well. They're kind of, I guess, a lot of the teams we've looked at. You look at Loris, who we'll talk about in a second, and Carolina Forest especially. They lost a lot of pieces, but it seems like they're just kind of reloading. Like it's not there hasn't been any fall off. They've been able to kind of fill all those positions that they need to fill. I know Carolina Forest, they looked pretty good in the preseason kickoff classic as well, but they had I think penalties and
penalties hurt them a lot in that scrimmage. The final score, I believe I think it was a tie. I believe it was 7-7 between Carolina Forest and what team did they play? Because I was the one covering that game.
Was that North Myrtle Beach?
Might have been. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so. But I think Carolina. I think Carolina Forest, they put up a lot more points, at least last year. But like you mentioned, they lost a lot of pieces from last year. They have a new starting quarterback, they have to replace their running back who set school records, and they had a really good wide receiver. So it's a new look on that offense. But hopefully they're still up for a great season.
Yeah, they're going to be hosting Conway. And then we have Green Sea Floyds at Loris. I think Green Sea Floyds is another team that did not perform as well as they wanted to in week 1. And Loris, I think, is going to be one of the better teams in our area. Loris looked really good during their during the Jamboree against Myrtle Beach. Their offense, their running back, I think, is going to be one of the best players in our area for this season. He was just an electric player, and I think Loris is going to be one of those teams to watch. I think Carolina Forest is going to be one of those teams to watch. I think this season should be good for football in the area. I mean, it always is. And then you have Socastee at St. James, which is another game that should be interesting because you have two programs who haven't exactly been at the top of their game for the past few seasons. Some new coaches in St. James.
Yeah, I believe these are some rivalry games. I'm looking up because I saw earlier the Loris game. They call that one the Bog Off Bowl between Green Seed Floyds and Loris, relatively up there. And I believe the Socastee St. James one, I believe that one, they call that one the Battle of 707.
Just by proximity there.
Yeah, I believe that's I could be completely wrong, which I hope I'm not since I'm from this area. It'd be very bad if I got that wrong. But, yeah, some rivalry games that are happening despite the shakeup in regional play, but some great games. You'd expect Loris to probably come up with a big win over Green Seed Floyds, especially with how well they looked in week 1. The Socastee St. James honestly could go either way. Both programs have been kind of they've been on the lower tier the past several years, probably since I've started covering games here at the station. So honestly, who knows how that one will go. St. James did get the win over Waccamaw, which was probably a big win for them. And then the Dillon at Myrtle Beach game, I think, could be a really good one. Obviously, both teams have been perennial powerhouses in their own classifications for years. Myrtle Beach coming off that huge loss to Marlboro County, so they'll be looking to get back on the right foot. And then obviously Dillon also coming off of a loss to Camden, so both teams looking for their first win of the season. But it could be. I think that one could be a really good game to watch.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some good games this week. And then getting into college football, we have a college football game this week.
Yeah.
We have a college football, I guess not a college football game. There is a game, but there's a few games
on the slate. Well, there's technically several games,
Yeah, we've got a few games. I think there's a couple of ACC matchups, a couple of it's kind of like, I guess, would you call this week 0? Is that what it's coined?
I think technically, yeah. Or unless they do unless they do this weird thing where week 1 is like technically 2 weeks. I don't know.
It's one of those weird things where there's like a week before the actual season starts, and there's some games when it kicks off.
ESPN has it listed as week 1 from August 22nd to September 7th, and
that's not a week.
I'm no mathematician, but that's longer than 7 days.
I don't know how. College football just kind of seems to do with whatever they want.
Yeah, and there's a lot that could be said about that, especially after the past several days.
Ooh, yeah, and I guess we'll kick things off. They're playing in Ireland at noon.
Yeah.
Speaking of college football doing what they want, I know they had that game last year. Was it Notre Dame in Miami last year?
I'm not sure.
I think it was Notre Dame. Or no, Georgia Tech played.
Georgia Tech played in the last year.
Is it Georgia Tech in Miami?
I'm not sure.
I don't know why I feel like Miami played, but I'm probably wrong. I know Georgia Tech was in it.
I don't know if it was Miami, but I think they did upset someone. They kicked a field goal, I believe, to win. I'm not sure, but yeah, great to have college football back. It's kind of weird, though. Like I said, I think this is their 3rd season playing that kickoff game in Ireland. You have North Carolina. A lot can be said about that program. The Bill Belichick era, kind of becoming is the laughing stock of college football.
Well, there are a lot of things to laugh at in college football right now.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm here for the Tar Heels downfall. I think it's fun to laugh at that whole situation.
Well, I mean, is it even college football anymore? Is the NFL players
NFL adjacent?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, is it just the NFL developmental league at this point? I mean, I guess if you haven't seen the headlines and everything, there's a bunch of players who joined like there's a new waiver for like the 2022 high school graduates.
Well, yeah, I think it started because like the NCAA was on the verge of adopting like a 5-for-5 type thing where like any player from 2022. They have eligibility for 5 seasons after. I can't remember exactly what. Then a judge stepped in and ruled 22 players eligible that Some of them were like on NFL like training camp rosters eligibility. One of them being I know like the local connection, DQ Smith, played for the South Carolina Gamecocks his 4 years, starter in Columbia. I can't remember what NFL team he I think he was like an undrafted free agent, signed for them in training camp, got cut, but he's now granted eligibility. Probably the most notable name from that. Well, actually, South Carolina did pick up a cornerback from he was from Appalachian State. I can't remember his name. They signed him. He was one of the group that recently gained eligibility because of the judge. But I think the most notable example was the tight end from the Cleveland Browns. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Daquan Wright.
Something like that, yeah.
Daquan Smith. I know his name. I know his first name is Daquan.
Yeah, he was on the Bengals. I think he was literally in the Bengals game over the weekend, like either warming up or I don't know if he ever got on the field. But I think the report was like he already had a agreement in place to go to LSU before he was even cut from the Bengals.
Yeah, they had apparently granted, we don't exactly know how true all this is, but apparently Lane Kiffin was in conversations with them and called the Browns coach.
Yeah.
And the Browns coach basically said I've been in talks with Lane Kiffin this whole time. And then Lane Kiffin was like, I don't even have his number. I've never called him before. So Lane Kiffin's gonna Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
So just let him go. There was a player on the Buccaneers as well who recorded a sack and then the next day recorded a sack in the NFL, I guess NFL preseason, and then the next day was I'm going back to college.
I'm trying because there was also one of the really good defensive linemen from Ole Miss last year. I can't remember his name either. I think he was on a preseason roster. He was also granted eligibility, and of course, he's now going to LSU. So it seems like Lane Kiffin's benefiting the most from this, but
it's not even his fault this time.
Yeah. I think that the SEC even made a statement on Monday night, but the statement's not going to do much good. Yeah, you can say you're against this, but unless there's a policy in place to actually prevent this, and who knows, you may find another local judge somewhere that overrules that. It's very, very murky waters for the NCAA right now.
Yeah, I know one of Lane Kiffin's things because they did, obviously they asked him about it. They were like, hey, what do you think of all this? And he basically was like, I don't know what the NCAA is doing, but, if they're going to let them play, I would be dumb not to call them back. If they were good enough to be on an NFL roster and they're going to let you take them in college, I feel like at that point you kind of have to.
Yeah.
It's the college basketball scene where John Calipari was saying if you're going to let us sign NBA players, why would we pick up high school kids when you could just sign people that are already in the NBA?
That's also what the LSU men's basketball team is doing. I believe it that Will Wade is their coach now again after coming from NC. Will Wade has had a crazy history. I believe he was at LSU, then got caught for cheating, got fired, then I think went to McNeese State, was there for a season, then went to NC State for a year, and then screwed everyone over at NC State to come back to LSU. It's been a mess. I mean, it seems like LSU's the marquee school to be doing all this shady stuff in college athletics. And there's another shady story with the women's basketball program. I don't even know if I want to get into all that. I could tell you off the pod about that, but
was it the player leaving the team?
They had a Ukrainian player on the team, and then they signed
Koval.
Yeah, they had a Ukrainian player on the team whose dad's literally in the war fighting against Russia, and Kim Mulkey decided to sign a player from Russia. So yeah, they have that going on, and there's some I
saw the big long
I don't know the specifics as to what happened, but.
I know she left the team for personal mental.
Health
reasons.
Yeah, she has.
It was coined very vaguely written.
Her family is definitely going through a tough situation right now, and I wish her the best. I'm not here to
this is not a political podcast.
I'm not here to down her for making that decision. You got to do what's best for your family.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to college football.
I guess we'll go soccer now. We can go the other type of football. And I think the CCU men's soccer program is off to one of the weirdest starts to a season that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They started the season off against the number 2 team in the country in NC State, and they tied them.
Yeah.
Played a great game. They put up 0 goals, but they also held the number 2 team in the country to 0. They got a 0-0 tie against them. And then they followed that up with a matchup with Longwood University, which is yesterday for us, Monday, at it was definitely interesting talking about this game. We got the Longwood University Lancers that play in Farmville, Virginia,
Yeah.
who ended up beating them.
Former Big South opponents, I believe, for Coastal way back in the day.
They lost 4-2, and so you go back to back from tying with the number 2 team in the country to losing to a team in losing in Farmville, Virginia.
Yeah. Glad they got goals on the board, but also not happy they gave up 4 in return. But yeah, a whirlwind for the CCU men's soccer team. I will mention Clemson men's soccer. We mentioned very briefly, kind of in passing on last week's episode. They faced the number 3 team. They started their season at home against the number 3 team, the Furman Paladins. Furman replacing their head coach from last year. Clemson coming up with the big 5-1 win over the Paladins last week. They also got a win on Sunday against Eastern Tennessee State, a 2-0 win there. To set up the big match on Friday, the Clemson men's soccer team hitting the road to play South Carolina and Columbia. I believe the South Carolina men's team's also 2-0 in the season, but their games were against North Florida, and I can't remember the other team, not the number 3 team in the country like Clemson has already done. And Clemson has kind of had South Carolina's number when it comes to men's soccer for the past several years. I'm trying to think if that's, I think that's about all I can think of from the men's side of things.
Yeah, then I guess we'll switch things over to the women's side of things, where Coastal Carolina's off to a great start at home this year. They beat Central Michigan most recently, I believe, 2-0 with a couple of goals from Olivia's. We had two different Olivia's scored in that one, both in the first half, and then a win over Charleston Southern to start the season at home. I guess in between those games, they made the trip to the University of Florida in Gainesville and ended up losing that one. So they're 2-0 at home. They've lost their only away game. I know the women's team has, I think it's like a pretty much 50-50 split between players that have been there and players that are coming over, whether that be transfers or freshmen. I know they've had, I think, 2 or 3 goals scored already this season by freshmen, and I think they've only had like 1 or 2 goals total by returning players. I know it's been pretty, the goal scoring at least has been pretty heavily dominated by newcomers to that Coastal women's soccer program, which I think is kind of going to be the norm moving forward for, I guess, all sports.
Especially in the group of 5 era. If you're not a power 4 conference, you're going to see a lot of turnover, which I think having a new coach this season also kind of is the reason for all that. But I'm glad that they're off to a winning way, a 2-1 record on the season. With they lost, the one loss that they had was to Florida by a score of 3-2. I think Florida's been down in recent years, but they've had a historically great program. But yeah, I wish them the best as well. They have a match on Thursday against UNC Greensboro hitting the road. They're back home on Sunday against Campbell, the Campbell Camels. So got some fun action happening in Conway away from the football field on the soccer pitches.
Yeah, then we've got, not this weekend, but next weekend we've got all of our teams will be in action for high school, for college football. So we'll definitely, like, next week's episode will be very college football heavy. I can only imagine.
Probably, yeah.
And then moving over to baseball, as the Pelicans, they had a big announcement.
Yeah, we could talk about what they did on the field, but I don't want to get too down in the dumps right now.
No, we're coming to a close on the season, and I think they have 2 series left. I think there's a home series and an away series.
I think so, because their season ends like the second week of September, I believe.
Yeah, I think they have next week's series, which is away at the Augusta Green Jackets, and then I think they have a home series against either Charleston or Columbia to end the year.
I want to say the Fireflies, maybe the Columbia team.
Yeah.
Well, kind of an adjacent story to the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. Kind of a cool story. They're announcing Willie James is their director of Performance Athletics. He's been with the Pelicans before. Let's see if I can find it up. He played for the Pelicans from 2004 to 2006. He was drafted, I believe, by the Atlanta Braves. He spent over a decade serving the Grand Strand as the owner and director of baseball operations at the Carolina Elite Sports. He's also previously served as a police officer for both the Surfside Beach Police Department and the Myrtle Beach Police Departments from 2015 and 2018. Just glad to see him get that opportunity. If I remember correctly, I think I saw earlier today it's like a new position for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, and I'm glad to see a familiar, like a local guy, get that opportunity. And I wish him and the Pelicans all the best as they close out the season and then kind of look ahead to next season.
Yeah, and then moving over to the Braves, I talked about the Little League World Series being one of the best things, and one of the best traditions in the MLB when it comes to the Little League World Series is the Little League Classic. I know it's kind of fun because like last week we had the game at the Field of Dreams,
Yeah.
and then this week we have the Little League Classic, which is, as you guys can see on the screen now, the Ozzie Albies who was having some fun.
Well, yeah, that one was the great catch from Ronald Acuna Jr. Just a very like, it was a great environment. I know like some of the traditions, the players arriving midday on Sunday, immediately going to the ballpark and like seeing all the kids just like surround them, getting autographs. One of the traditions there in Williamsport is sliding down the hill on the cardboard. They got some of the players. I think one of them interviewed Chris Sale on the bus away coming to the stadium. Was like Chris Sale was like, "There's no way I'm going down. I'm too old to be doing that." But seeing some of the Braves players and the Brewers players do that, it's just a great environment to see all these kids like who idolize these professional players get the chance. I know in the very first inning it was a funny moment between Ronald Acuna Jr. and the catcher. I believe it was one of the Contreras brothers, I believe, that plays for Milwaukee. Kind of like, because I think there was a pitch really close to almost hitting Acuna or something like that, and he kind of made the gesture like laughing with the catcher, like he's about to like square up with the baseball bat on the catcher and stuff like this. Like obviously it was a joke. He was not about to actually swing on the guy, no, but just Ronald Acuna definitely definitely leaning into the kid friendly atmosphere for this game. Hopefully it's a sign for the Braves to turn things around. As of recording, they haven't played the first game of the series against the Dodgers. That's on Tuesday night at home.
They had a seven game road stretch, and it was definitely not a favorable road stretch for the Braves. I think they went 2-5.
Yeah, like their last 10 games, including that game up there in Williamsport, they've been 3-7. A very rough stretch for the Braves. And you mentioned last week about the Field of Dreams game. Hopefully the Braves can get the same look the Phillies got from that game. The Phillies were kind of sliding. They went up there in Iowa. They won the Field of Dreams game, and they went on like a 9-game winning streak to close the gap on the Braves. I believe the gap right now in the division, the NL East, is like a 3.5 game lead for the Braves. The Braves still have the 4th best record in Major League Baseball, but the Phillies are right behind. They're like 9-1 on their last 10 games. 3.5 games back from the Braves, catching up very quickly, and the Braves have been sliding recently. And it's not going to get easier against the Dodgers, the second best team in baseball right now.
Yeah, they just played the number 1 team in baseball away.
Yeah.
I guess they had 2 away games and then 1 game at the Little League Classic, and then now they get to come back home and face off against the number 2 team in baseball in the Dodgers, who also happen to have like an all-star team that they've assembled.
They're the Monstars of baseball, basically. So the Braves need some good fortune to go their way. I think the hitting has been letting them down. They have a weird situation. Sometimes when the pitching, when the bats are good, the pitching kind of slacks off. But when the pitching is good, the hitting slacks. They're still making it work. I mean, they have a 76-55 record, 21 games above 500. But obviously, they got to get back to winning ways if they want to win that division, with the Phillies creeping up right behind them, making a lot of progress in the past week or so.
Yeah, and then I guess that's all we've got for this
We
week.
can do it. I forgot to.
Oh yeah, we've got NASCAR. We
Yeah,
can't forget the left turns.
We have a little bit of auto racing news. I would classify the segment as racing in general because there was a shout out I meant to do during my top three. We'll start with NASCAR. If I can I have it somewhere. We got the second. Well, this upcoming weekend, the last race of the regular season. Over the weekend, you had, I believe, the race in New Hampshire, but the big story coming out of that, Denny Hamlin securing the number one spot in the chase because NASCAR's going back. They're revamping their playoff situation or how the qualification works for their playoffs. The past several years, it used to be like win and you're in. If you win a race, you're kind of guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. But now they're going back to the chase format where wins will definitely help you because you'll get more points, but it's, I think, solely based on points. Denny Hamlin, a historic driver for NASCAR. We've talked about him several times.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he's now 8th all-time in NASCAR wins, but he's never won like the actual, like the playoff championships for NASCAR. He's securing that one spot, I believe. Let me pull this up. Let's see. Denny Hamlin is clinched. Tyler Reddick is clinched. Ryan Blaney has clinched. He's the one that won over the weekend, I believe, at New Hampshire. Ty Gibbs is clinched. Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell clinched. Chase Elliott. Then you had 6 guys that clinched this weekend. Those being Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Karsten Hocevar, William Byron, and Daniel Suarez. And then kind of on the bubble, you have I think 3 spots up for grabs, I believe. You have Bubba Wallace, who's kind of in good position, but then you have Austin Cindric, Shane Van Gisbergen, Ryan Preece, and somehow Brad Keselowski right now on the outside looking in. So it'd be very interesting because they have the race at at Daytona this coming week to end the regular season, and then of course kind of previewing ahead to Darlington next week to kick off the postseason for NASCAR. And then sticking with auto sports, I'll quickly mention you had over the weekend the Freedom 250 in Washington D.C., the road course for the IndyCar. It was I think a 250 mile 250 mile race, like 147 laps. Their first time ever doing this. I think the word is this was kind of like a one-off event. Obviously it was a one-off because the Freedom 250 for the 250th anniversary of the country's founding or country's birthday, the signing of the Declaration and everything like that. But yeah, it was good to see Kyle Kirkwood. I believe it's his 5th year in IndyCar. He's an American driver, winning that race in kind of dominant fashion. He passed, I believe his name was Alex Palou on the very first lap on the very first turn, and kind of drove away from that. But good to see him get that win, an American win. the Freedom 250 race is probably a good thing to see.
With him with the bald eagle in front of him.
Yeah, I didn't even see that.
I didn't
part.
realize that was part of it until that just popped up on the screen. I didn't know they brought out the bald eagle, but
yeah,
I guess it is fitting that an American would win that race.
And then I'll go to this, the reason I'm not calling auto racing and just racing is because I'm going back to the track and field. I'll shout out Melissa Jefferson Wooden over the weekend, winning the women's 100 meter, and I believe it was Poland, the Celesta Diamond League. It was a star-studded field. You had Melissa Jefferson Wooden, you had Sha'Carri Richardson from the Americans, you had the really great runner, I believe from Jamaica, Julian Alfred, I believe. The great runner there, but Melissa Jefferson won and taking the win, setting the best time this season with a 10.78 seconds.
She won this last year, didn't she?
Yeah, this was her back-to-back title at this event. But yeah, it was a very star-studded field for her to pick up that win.
It's always great to see, and she CCU graduate, and she's been kind of making waves on the world stage for the past, I guess, probably 3 or 4 years, and I guess she's starting her campaign for the 2028 Olympics, and she's been kind of on a tear starting off that campaign. I think this is the second event she's won in the last few months.
At least it's yeah, I believe so.
She's won at least 2 events, probably definitely many more to come until the Olympics, and then hopefully she can be healthy and give a great performance in the Olympics for the United States as well. I know there's definitely some competition. I mean, there's competition simply within her own team and Sha'Carri Richardson and the Americans. And then obviously you have Juliana Alfred, who's going to pose a threat always.
See, no, I got the names mixed up. Juliana Alfred is literally our reporter here. It's Julian Alfred. Very, very close. I was like, wait a second. That's why I was over here scrambling on my phone. I was like, I know the names are very similar, but Juliana reports for us. Julian runs track.
Juliana Alfred, she's changing career paths. She's now joining track and field, competing with Melissa Jefferson Wooden.
I'm glad I corrected myself before we publish this podcast and how to make another correction on next week's episode.
We're just getting ready for our weekly corrections. I don't know. We try our best. We've gotten a couple of political things in here today. We talked about the Declaration of Independence.
We're all over the place. That's, I guess, what you can expect, I guess.
That's what we're here for. It's for entertainment, to give you guys some sports, and hopefully you guys enjoy the two of us talking about. Hopefully.
We're 51 episodes in, and we're still learning as we go. I believe that was all the shout-outs I had that I sent to myself to mention.
I'm trying to think if we've got anything else to throw out there.
I did throw this in there on the Cincinnati Bengals signing former Coastal Carolina player Matthew McDoom. He only played a season, I believe, with Coastal. He was more of a special teams player. He transferred to Cincinnati, played cornerback there, but the Bengals signed him, I believe, on the August 15th, so like over a week ago, but I threw that in there because I saw it on social media recently. But
have we mentioned, speaking of the Bengals, there's the one player who's like leaving to go be an actor?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that was...
he's like. Plus, I saw, which the most interesting part, because he was, I believe, LeBron's son.
Oh yeah, he played
like the Space Jam.
Yeah, LeBron's son in Space Jam.
Which is interesting because both of his sons are NBA players, or I guess one of them's an NBA player, the other one's going to be an NBA player. So I figured they would just use his actual sons because they're already in the limelight their whole lives. But yeah, he played LeBron's son in Space Jam, and then like. That was like while he was in college and like preparing for the NFL.
I believe so.
And then he moved. He's on the Bengals. And then in the middle of the preseason, he decided he's going to pursue a role in.
I don't know if they even announced what the role. They said it was a very big role, but I don't think it was ever. At least in when I saw it.
Yeah, like I don't think we don't know the movie, right?
I don't think it was ever been announced. So,
so he's pursuing another acting role.
At least he's not going back to college and trying to become a college athlete.
Hey, you got, those are your choices now. You either can go be an actor or you can just go back to college whenever you want. But I think it's interesting, too, because I saw the other day that like he's set to rejoin the team in October.
Yeah, I did see that as well.
Which I feel like I
think he was an undrafted, so I don't think the Bengals are losing much by losing him.
I think he's more of a practice squad type of player. But I just think it's interesting that he's like completely deciding to pursue something else. And they're just like, yeah, just come back when you're done.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I will, since we're back on the NFL, since we've managed to get our way here.
We're just going around in circles.
The Panthers' 2 preseason games that have happened since we last talked about them, picking up a 34-17 win over the Jaguars, and then losing on the road a 29-14 loss to the Bills. But just hopefully the Panthers are getting ready. Yeah, even got highlights right there. Sarah reading our minds once again.
She knows what we're about to talk about.
But yeah, a great performance from. I saw Bryce Young in that game against the Jaguars. I'm trying to pull up the stat line. He was only in there for I believe one drive, 5 for 6 passing. Kenny Pickett getting much of the snaps. He even had.
I think he threw 25 passes in that.
Yeah, he went 15 for 25 with a touchdown. Kyle Trask came in, went 4 for 4 with 1 touchdown.
The John Mechie game.
Yeah.
John Mechie. I always got to give a shout out to my Alabama guys. Plus,
there you go. We worked it in there.
Yeah. See, we got it there. We got there. But also, John Mechie is just it's just a great story. I mean, he was I don't want to say like he was not one of like the elite Alabama wide receivers. Like if you think about, because I mean, just happened to be that he was there at the same time as like Jerry Jeudy, like all those guys.
Devontae Smith, I believe,
Yeah.
right? Or is, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the wide receiver room at one point, while like Devontae Smith was a freshman and I think Mechie was a freshman as well, was like every single guy that you could think of from Alabama. Like you got Jeudy, Waddle, Devontae Smith, all those guys, and then he ended up going to the Texans, and I think he got diagnosed with
Because didn't
with
he
cancer.
didn't he play like took a year off or something?
yeah,
like that?
he got diagnosed with, I believe it was cancer, and then he ended up like taking a year off. He left the team, came back, played pretty well, and then like went to the Jets, went to, I think there was another team in there.
Based on his stats, he went from Houston to Philly, then to the Jets, and then now with the Panthers.
Yeah, but I think he was part of like that deal with Julio Jones. When Julio Jones went to the that was an interesting time in football. But yeah, it's nice to see him back on a roster. I guess fighting for a roster spot. One thing that's been really interesting this preseason is for the Panthers is Haynes King played very well to start off the preseason.
I think he got hurt though,
and then he got like
I think he had a hand injury because I asked my brother who follows the Panthers more closely to me what happened to him. I think he got hurt. Because obviously he looked really well, really good in that first preseason game, leading the game-winning drive. But I don't think we've seen him since.
And then we got the Kenny Pickett show.
And enjoy it while it lasts, because we only got one more week of that.
And hopefully,
hopefully one more week.
Hopefully we don't have a whole lot more weeks of Kenny Pickett football. And then, God forbid something happens, we should have. I'm hoping it goes Bryce Young, Haynes King, and then Kenny Pickett. If we're throwing Kenny Pickett out there on Sunday nights, it's going to be a long year for Panthers fans. As we thought last year was going to be a long year, and then we had a playoff team.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that season shakes out, and I guess we'll get into their final preseason one next week on the episode. We've got to preview a lot of stuff next week.
Yeah.
We've got college football. We've got all of our teams will be in action next week. We'll obviously have the updates from high school football, and then we've also got Darlington coming up. So there's a lot in store for next week's episode.
Before we go, do you want to mention the charity golf, the tournament, the WNBFSN?
Is that next week already?
I don't know if it's.
Oh no, that's September 10th.
But
So
we'll
preview that as well.
We can.
We'll
shout that out.
We've got
as well.
a lot of previews coming up. We've got so everything that I just mentioned, and then also I guess my athletic journey here. I don't know how much you want to call it that, because I don't know if I'd call myself a golfer.
No,
but
much better than some of us.
It's similar to the team that we brought out for the Myrtle Beach Classic Media Day. I know you guys saw that, where it was me, Michaela, Jenna, and Andrew. So now Michaela has just left the building, unfortunately. She's going to be going up to Fox, Carolina, and Greenville. She's going to unfortunately have to cover that orange team up there.
She's still a news reporter.
But we've got she's also a Gamecock, so
Yeah.
she probably will try to stay away from that. We've got me, Andrew, Jill, and Jill and Jenna Greenhill. So we've got both of our sports team people, and then we've got two of our meteorologists that are going to go out there and hopefully and I think and Jamie will be out there too as well.
He's the host
Jamie's
and
not
MC.
golfing, but he's going to be the MC in the event. It's a great event for a good cause, and we're going to go out there and support every way we can, and hopefully I don't know if come away with a win is the right word, but hopefully we can play well. We played well at the Myrtle Beach Classic Media Day, so hopefully our crew can put together a good performance, and I'll make sure to take some videos and stuff. We'll have to come back on the podcast. Hopefully I can throw us in my top three that week. I don't know if we might have to do a bottom three that week, depending on how many. I can tally up the golf balls lost counter.
It's golf, so the lower the better for you.
I usually go for the high score when I go golfing.
I'm not sure if there's still time for people to sign up for it, but yeah, the event's happening Thursday, September 10th at 9 a.m. at the Litchfield Country Club. Obviously, it's a charity event. Every donation will be matched dollar for dollar up to $100,000. So be great if y'all can support it as well. And obviously, we'll wish you we'll talk about it again on next week to give you more time to to know about it. But yeah, well, I meant to ask you about it before we started recording, but sorry to just throw that
Give
on
a
to you.
preview. We got all the previews today.
Sorry to just throw that on to you in the middle of recording, but we'll shout that out as I guess as we wrap up.
But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff that you guys got to tune in next week for.
Yeah.
But make sure to tune in next week and make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
We'll see you back next week.